Oh, hello. I had 2 returns this week. Both of them were books. I don't think I've ever had a book returned before, and in 1 week I got 2 books returned. And in fact, one book was a Bible. Who returns a Bible? The Bible was sold through the international shipping program, so I couldn't see the reason that they gave for the return. Did they not like the ending? I'm not really sure. Very strange. I'm expecting at least one other return to happen soon because I've noticed that my returns typically come in threes. Isn't that weird? Does that happen to you as well? Usually if I get one return, I know that there's going to be a couple following. So I've gotten 2, waiting for the third one before I can be done with returns for a while. Brian asks, hey, was this a bad rule I broke? I set an item, it sold immediately in less than 15 minutes. I began wondering why it had sold so fast. I actually thought I had marked it up high, $95. I thought maybe I should have looked it up more, so I did, and I found out it had sold for $1,500. It's rare, I didn't know that much. So, possible rule breaking, I canceled its sale, and the customer was fully repaid. I really didn't tell why, actually, but the way low gain for me is why. The guy wasn't super happy, but he didn't blow up. I feel guilty because I never told the full reason to eBay or the customer. It's okay to let me have it if I did wrong. Thanks again for your videos. Thanks, Brian. I think we all run into this situation at some point as eBay sellers. You get this mix of emotions when you list something and sell it immediately. You're like, oh, sweet, I got a sale. But then you're like, uh-oh, did I misprice this? What's going on? And yeah, sometimes you're going to run into the situation where you just made an error in your own research, and it turns out that the thing you thought was worth $95 was actually worth $1,500. So your question is, should I feel bad about canceling that sale? And this may be controversial. I'm curious to hear y'all's thoughts in the comments. I could really go either way, and I think people are going to be pretty split down the middle. Personally, I think it's okay for you to make this mistake every once in a while. It's almost like a pricing error mistake. If I meant to put $900 and I put $90 in there and somebody came in and snatched it up, I would probably cancel the order. I get that it's kind of a gray area, but we are individuals here. We are not big businesses. We're not Amazon or Walmart. We don't have the margins to be able to take such costly errors like that. And you don't want to make a habit of it. If you're doing this every day or every week or even every month, yeah, something's wrong. You should not be doing that. You need to spend more time understanding how to research the value of things. But if this is a once every couple of year type situation, I don't think you need to lose out on $1,000 plus just because you made a mistake here. You do get a ding on your account. So eBay doesn't like it when you cancel sales, and you will get a ding on your account if you cancel too many sales. Then you will have your account suspended, or I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what happens, but eBay doesn't like it. So don't make a habit of canceling sales. The only way you can cancel a sale without getting a ding on your account is if the buyer requests that you cancel it. And so for any other reason, eBay's going to get pretty mad at you, so don't do it. So in this case, I'm going to give you a break here. I'm going to say you're okay. It was okay that you canceled the sale. Just don't make a habit of it. Make sure you're doing your research properly. If you listed at $95 and you learned it was worth $150, honor that sale. That's close enough. But $95 and $1,500, that's a pretty big discrepancy. So I think it's okay. But curious to hear what y'all think in the comments. I bet I'm going to get people that are not happy with my response there, but we'll see. Valerie asks, I remember you basically saying less is more as to messaging buyers. Are you at all concerned about eBay rating you poorly on the percentage of your sales conversion rate or sales conversation rate? Hi, Valerie. Not really concerned about that at all. I have heard this concept before where eBay may judge you based on your conversation rate or your reply rate and somehow score that and impact the visibility of your items in search. I don't really buy into that. I don't think that's a thing. I think that's an old wives' tale. That's the thing about the eBay algorithm. They don't publicize how it works, which is a good thing. If they did publicize how it works, then it would be easier to game and you would be at a disadvantage to others who have learned how the algorithm works. So it's a closely guarded secret, kind of how they determine search ranking and order. So it could be that they consider whether you reply to messages or not as a factor. I don't think it is, just because I don't really do it very often and it doesn't appear to impact my business in any way. No one knows for sure. Anytime you hear people talking about the algorithm, they're just taking a guess, including me. When I say I don't think it matters or it does matter, I'm taking a guess. I don't know. Nobody really knows but eBay. But my hunch is that it just doesn't matter whether you're replying to conversations or not. So Buckman asks, hi, Justin, thanks for the great content. You're welcome. With the option for buyers to see the reduced shipping cost, if a buyer pays more shipping that ends up being due, does the buyer receive the overage money back? Thank you. It's a good question. So when you sell something on eBay, you set a price that the buyer must pay to ship it. Sometimes you use calculated shipping. Sometimes you use a flat rate shipping. Sometimes you do free shipping and you build the cost of ship into the overall sale price. Whatever it is, you charge the buyer some amount to ship. And then when you go to actually ship the item when it sells, you are charged an amount to ship for the label. Those are often two different things. Sometimes there's a discrepancy between the two, especially if you don't use calculated shipping, where you charge the buyer $10 to ship and it tipped $12 to ship, so you lost out on $2 extra. Or you charge the buyer $10 to ship and it only costs you $8 to ship, and so you make $2 extra. In either of those cases, the buyer doesn't get reimbursed anything or any more money taken from them. And so that's up to you as the seller whether you want to reimburse the buyer for any shipping overages that they pay. But for me, I don't do it unless it's like really crazy. If I like accidentally put 25 pounds for some very small item and they still bought it at a calculated shipping rate that was way off of what it actually, I'll give some money back on that because that's just not fair. But a few dollars here and there, discrepancies, they even out for me. So sometimes I make a little bit more, sometimes I make a little bit less. I don't use calculated shipping, I use flat shipping. So I don't give the buyer any money back when they pay a little bit more for shipping. And the reason that I don't is because when the buyer goes through the entire purchasing process, they're given a final price and they can decide, is this worth this price to get this item to me? And if they say yes, then it's worth it. Then they are saying that they're fine with that cost. It doesn't matter what it actually costs me to ship. But I know that there are some sellers out there who do reimburse the buyers for any overages that they pay, and you can do that if you want to, so it's really up to you. But eBay doesn't force it, eBay doesn't make you do it, and eBay's fine with you keeping some overages. Also something to consider here as well, like the price you pay for a shipping label from eBay or Pirate Ship or wherever, Pirate Ship made money on that too, or eBay makes money on that label too, so you're not paying what it actually costs to ship. Pirate Ship or eBay is marking it up a few percentage points so that they can make money off of the label that you buy, and it's the same thing that you would be doing to the buyer here. You may be marking up your shipping costs a little bit more. There's nothing immoral about it. It's already happening to you every day as a purchaser of shipping labels on eBay or Pirate Ship or anywhere else. So it's no different for the end buyer either. Alex asks, I recently got into reselling on eBay, mainly selling video games. I have a bunch of bubble mailers I use to ship them, so they're pretty easy to pack and ship. I find myself feeling hesitant to buy larger or more awkwardly shaped items because I don't have or know what box sizes to use for them, and I wouldn't want to list them before I have what I need to ship them. Do you have any suggestions on how I should go about getting over this? Thanks, Alex. I appreciate the question. I think it's a great way for resellers to distinguish themselves from other resellers is to not be afraid of buying and reselling bulkier or large items. These things are often overlooked by other resellers for this exact reason. They just don't want to ship them or they don't know how to ship them, but it's really not that difficult. And I like to buy things that are oddly shaped all the time. In fact, just today, I sold an old vintage TV that weighed 30 pounds and I had to put it in a box that was like 20 by 20 by 20. And you might think like, that sounds like a pain and super expensive, but it only cost $23 to ship. And so a lot of people think that things are going to be way more expensive and difficult to ship when the reality is it's really not that bad at all. I do keep a variety of box sizes on hand. My most common box sizes are like 8 by 6 by 4, my most common box sizes, I'm trying to think here, 8 by 6 by 4, 10 by 6 by 8, 12 by 12 by 12, 12 by 12 by 9, 18 by 16 by 6. Those are kind of the most common ones. And then I have all sorts of other boxes in a variety of sizes, some of which that I just save from my own Amazon purchases or my family gives to me from their Amazon purchases. I also go to Lowe's and buy their medium, large, and extra large boxes for pretty big stuff. And I don't always have a box on hand for everything that I'm going to sell, which is a little bit risky, but it just means when it does sell, I got to go out and find a box for it. For other really oddly shaped things, I found that U-Haul in the United States is a very good source for weirdly shaped boxes. You can go to U-Haul's website and do a search for the variety of boxes that they have, and then call some of your local U-Haul stores to see if they have those box sizes in stock. And that's worked out really well for me too. So my advice would be get used to it, get familiar with it. Don't be scared of it. You can really stand out from other resellers and pick up a lot of really great inventory if you can start to get more comfortable packing and shipping large items like this. Tom asks, I was wondering if you had any comments on the process of transitioning a little side hustle into a real business. I have over 25 years of feedback and experience on eBay, and I'm looking to set up an LLC here in the next month or two and scale scale my business substantially. I would like to start fresh with a new account for the business and separate it from my personal finances for tax purposes, but don't want to lose all that positive feedback and experience. Any suggestions on how that can be accomplished? I suppose what I'm asking is, how do I go about separating my personal eBay account from a business account while preserving some of the benefits of the original persona account? Thanks, Tom. That's a really good question. And this situation is something I faced in particular. And I'll tell you what I did there, which is I had a long-standing eBay account that I've had since 2005. That's actually my second account. I have an account that goes back to like 97, but somehow I lost access to that one. So my current eBay account goes back to 2005. When I started taking eBay more seriously, I wanted to split my personal eBay activities from my business eBay activities, but I also didn't want to lose the clout that comes with having such an old account and the feedback that I built up over the years. So what I did is I just made that old account my business account, and I set up a separate account, new account for personal stuff. So that's what I would recommend you do as well. If you set up an LLC, you can, change the contact information to be that LLC. You can change the eBay name as well. You can change the account name. I think you can do that once every 30 days. eBay limits you, but you can change the account name. And then just set up a new account for the personal account, and you should be good to go. Brad asks, thanks for the videos. I always learn a lot. You're welcome. How much time and effort do you put into cleaning your inventory? Is it worth cleaning it up to like new condition, or just a quick once over to remove the label adhesives and any major dirty areas? Suggested cleaners, thanks. So one thing I do in terms of cleaning products is I tend to not source inventory that requires excessive cleaning. And so that's one thing you want to keep in mind when you're out there sourcing, is not only is it worth buying to resell? Is it cheap enough to get a good return? Does it have a good sell-through rate? Is the supply and demand good? Is the sale price, average market sale price good? You also want to be thinking about other factors like cleaning. Is it going to require an hour of work for me to get this into sellable condition? I will often pass on an item if that's the case. But if the item is worth a lot of money, some cleaning is okay. But I keep that in mind as I'm outsourcing for new inventory. Similarly, you also want to be thinking about complexity of packing and shipping. And so there's definitely things that I've turned down because the net return that I would be getting does not justify the amount of effort that it would take to properly package and ship the item, or require a specialty box, or all sorts of things. I don't want to discourage you from picking up items that can be more difficult to ship. I just want you to think of those other factors like shipping complexity and cleaning time as another condition of whether you're going to buy something or not. And make sure that what you're buying, if it does require a specialty box, or if it does require a lot of extra cleaning, that it's worth more money, because that time that you're going to spend doing that stuff is worth money as well. But I definitely buy items that do require some amount of cleaning. Obviously, remove stickers from everything. I use a tool called Scotty Peelers. I'll link them down below. I also keep around, just some diluted vinegar with water. That's my general cleaner. And I have some shop towels that I use. I like to use Mr. Clean erasers and iso alcohol as well. So all these little tools around there kind of help me make sure that everything I buy is in presentable condition. Shoes are another good example that sometimes they do require quite a bit of cleaning. I will not buy shoes that are heavily soiled and require a ton of cleaning unless the return is going to be pretty high. That's going to justify the extra time that it would take for me to invest into cleaning. Nora asks, how do you keep records for what you buy at yard sales, etc., when there's typically no receipt given? Yeah, you're definitely not going to get a receipt at a garage sale. So how do you keep records? How do you keep your cost of goods? How do you make sure you're good for tax time? And what you want to do is just in some way record that data so that you don't lose it, and so that you can reference it later. A lot of people will use like a notebook, just write down, I bought this thing at this time and paid this much. And, it's basically writing your own receipt, writing your own ledger. And there's tons of different ways that you can do that. You can, again, you can do it on a piece of paper in a notebook. You could do it in a spreadsheet using Google Sheets. It's free. I personally put all my cost of goods into Flipwise, which is my eBay automation platform and inventory management system. So tons of different ways that you can do it. You just want to make sure you record it so that you can reference it later. But there's no expectation that you're going to get a receipt at a garage sale. It's just not going to happen. So make your own receipt. Super asks, what do you do when you find an item that is nowhere on the internet? Good question. Sometimes you will pick something up and you just cannot find any information on it at all. You'll search sold comps on eBay that go back 90 days and you'll find nothing. You can also switch over to Terapeak, or I think it's called Product Research now. That goes back 3 years, and sometimes you'll go there and still can't find any information. Some people pay for an account on WorthPoint, which is it's not affiliated directly with eBay, but they have some agreement with eBay that allows them to ingest and retain their historical listings going back, I don't even know, 10 years, maybe longer. So that's another thing that you can do, but it's a pretty expensive service, but could be worth it if you sell a lot of things that are rare or unique and are not often on eBay. Or you could just start doing Google searches and see if you can find something. But yeah, you'll run into stuff that is just one of a kind, that you don't have any idea of what the price can be or what the supply is, or there's no supply and you don't know what the demand is. And that is a good opportunity to use an auction. And you'll even see here, Devin responded to Zuper here saying, Justin would auction it. I bet money on that. He's right. I would auction that in most cases. If I just couldn't find any information on it at all, I would auction it. I use auctions so rarely, once out of every 500 listings, I would say. It's really only when three conditions are met. It's when the supply is low. So in this case, the supply is 0, so it's very low. It's when the demand is high. You can't really gauge the demand of something that has no presence on the internet. So not knowing the demand is kind of okay in this scenario. Preferably, you know the demand and it's something that's a very high demand, so you run an auction for it. But in this case, since the item is unknown, you just don't know the demand. It could be very high, could be very low. There's one way to find out, and that's to list it as an auction. And then the third condition for an auction is that it has an unknown market value, meaning you just don't know how to price it. And so if there's no record of it on the internet anywhere, it's a good bet that you just probably don't know how to price it. So definitely a good candidate for auctions. So Devin's right. I would auction it. Erica asks, hi, Justin. How are you? I'm good. How are you? Question for you, if I may. In your opinion, which one do you think the algorithm likes best? Listing daily or scheduling listings? Many thanks. So again, total guesses here. Anyone who talks about the eBay algorithm who's not eBay specifically are just taking a guess. So I will give you my guess here and that it doesn't matter at all. eBay gives you the option to schedule listings. Why would they penalize you for using that option? I think it's totally fine. Just the big thing is get your items listed, get your items out of your death pile, get them onto eBay, whether you're listing daily or scheduling so that they go live daily later. Doesn't really matter. Just get them live. You know what Mang asks, are the very cheap items you sell reduced price items to get them sold? What is your strategy with the very inexpensive items? I list some things for pretty cheaply, usually things I got for free, but I feel like I'm wasting my time and energy to get rid of them when I could probably spend the time on higher value items. Thanks. I think you're absolutely right. You definitely need to be asking yourself those exact questions. Even if you got an item for free, is it worth the time that it's going to take me to list something and ship it later? You may be referring to my last This Week in Flips video where I talked about a small board game piece for a Pokemon board game from the 90s. I think I made like $2.10 on it. And in that case, I actually didn't reduce the price at all. That was listed at that low price. And here was my thinking there, is that I had this board game with probably 50 individual pieces in it that could all be sold individually, but all of them were going to sell for in between probably $6 and $20, meaning I'm going to net anywhere from $2 to probably $13 or $14 per piece. Now, buying one item and listing it to get $2, a $2 return on it is probably not a good idea. It probably takes me more energy to actually research the item, list it, and then pack it up later when it sells. That making $2 from it is probably not worth it. But I had 50 pieces and I sat down in about an hour and listed all of those 50 pieces. So if you have things that are very similar to one another, it makes the listing process very quick. So if I list 50 individual pieces in an hour and each of them have a net return of $2, that's $100 right there. But even so, many of these pieces were worth more than a net return of $2. And so I knew that I was going to make a couple $100 off of this board game by breaking it up into separate pieces. And if I'm sitting down to do some of them, might as well spend the extra time and do all of them. It's going to add up in the end. So that was my thinking then. But I definitely wouldn't have sourced that thing individually and listed it individually. It just would not make sense. Phoenix Sales says, I completely agree with you about creating discipline over relying on motivation when it comes to listing. However, there are products and categories that I look forward to listing, like vintage electronics and hats. Do you have any products or categories you enjoy listing? And do you have any that you loathe? For me, it's clothes, specifically shirts. By the way, he has a great YouTube channel. You should check it out. I'll link it down below. There's certain things that I definitely enjoy listing more than others. I actually don't mind clothing at all. Clothing is one of my favorite categories to buy and sell in. So I don't really mind listing clothing that much. My absolute favorite thing to list, though, are brand new in the box things, because you have to do nothing to prep them. You don't have to clean them. All you got to do is do the research list and take pictures. And it's really nice to be able to bang out many listings of new in-box products. So that's at the top of my list, is anything that's brand new. Steve asks, is there any advantage to same day shipping versus one day? yeah, there is a difference and an advantage. I mean, basically, it's a little bit more attractive for a potential buyer that you ship same day versus waiting 1 day to ship. I would say that the advantages are minimal. I think most buyers don't necessarily expect things to ship the same day. A lot of buyers, thanks to Amazon, expect that they ship by the next day, but same day shipping. So if you can work it out for your business, and you can actually set on eBay like a cutoff time, like this is my same day handling cutoff time is like noon, so that if anything comes in after that, it's not subject to the same day shipping rule. So maybe there's some buyers out there that think it's attractive, but my guess is that the advantages are very minimal. Personally, I do next day shipping, so we ship Monday through Friday, but I don't know, give it a shot. Give same day shipping a shot. See if it increases your sales, if you can make it work. All right, thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, YouTube thinks you might like this other video of mine, so check it out.